Hello, Mark Carlisle here from the Christ United Methodist Church Video Ministry Team with another video. Do you like to read? I know my children and grandchildren do. In fact, they even had contests in schools to get the most points. I think Emma did get the most points in her elementary school. They really enjoy reading. From a young age, children love to read. They love to be read to. They absorb information like a sponge. Books open adventures and different characters from faraway places, or let us learn facts about the world around us. In the March 3rd, Our Daily Bread, there was a series on a story written about an orphan. Now, I'm not going to tell you the name of the story yet. I'm going to paint a picture and see if you can guess who the orphan is. Got any ideas yet? Well, I'm going to give you a few more clues as we go along. And hopefully, you'll get the gist of the story series as well as a message. From your days in school, do you remember anything about story parts or elements? Well, by doing a Google search, I found out that there weren't just a small amount of parts. There were a variety of amount of parts. In fact, there could be 7, 9, or even 12 parts or elements of a story. But for our purposes, I'm going to use 5 parts. The basic story parts. 1 is the characters. I've already told you about one character. It's an orphan. Another character in the story is Matthew. And Matthew is a special character in this story. Pay particular attention to the words of Matthew. And there's a woman in the story by the name of Marilla. The conflict in the story, another story element, is looking for a home for this orphan. And the plot are events between characters. So we'll see events from the main characters, who are an orphan, Matthew and Marilla, as well as siblings. The setting is first in an orphanage, and second on a farm. And then theme. For us, we're going to paint a picture that we want you to take away from this story. Actually, it's going to be 2 pictures. Pay particular attention and see if you can figure it out. As we begin our story, the lead character is a young girl, another clue, and she's lost hope of ever finding a place to call home. Then came in Matthew and Marilla. Marilla is Matthew's sister, and they came to the orphanage to find a work hand to help on their farm. But it doesn't work out that they find a work hand. They find this young orphan girl. Well, she's not that young. She's more like a teenager. And on the way back to the farm, the girl just chatters and chatters and chatters and chatters and chatters. And she talks so much that finally she apologizes for all the chatter. And Matthew, catch this, Matthew, a quiet man, said, quote, "You can talk as much as you like. I don't mind," end quote. Can you imagine the joy she felt? All the things she had built up inside of her, and she had a way to get them out and express them through words. And this kind man, a quiet man, said, I don't mind. You can talk as much as you want to. Now we come to a difficult situation. We're changing the story a little bit. The first one was looking for a home. The second one now in our conflict is that when she gets to the farm, the other siblings are upset because it's a girl. They wanted a boy to help with all the chores on the farm. But Marilla would be using her in the house instead, Matthew's sister, to help with her chores. Well, the orphan, she feared being returned to the orphanage. Have you figured out our main character yet? I'll give you another hint. It has to do with the color green. No? Well, stick with me a little farther, and I'll give you the answer. But let's change gears. We've all had times when we felt unwanted or alone. But in Psalm 62:2, God tells us when we become a part of His family through salvation in Jesus, He becomes for us a secure home. A secure home. Not one in which we will fear being sent back. A secure home forever, not only on this earth, but also in heaven. He delights in us, just like Matthew, the quiet man, delighted in hearing this young girl chatter. He desires to talk with us or listen to us in regards to everything. Our worries, our temptations, our sorrows, and our hopes. Can you see a connection between our young orphan and the Bible? And Matthew? And God? The psalmist tells us that we can find rest in God and pour out our hearts to Him, verses 5 and 8. He doesn't mind. He delights in our hearts and our talks with Him. Have you guessed it yet? Well, if not, it was Anne of Green Gables. It's a wonderful story. I encourage you to read it. But I also encourage you to read the stories that you can find in the Bible that correlate to so many of the stories that have been written in the world. God bless.